Mikal Bridges is destined to have a bounce-back season shooting the ball. It's going to help the Knicks team as a whole. Plus, will the Knicks just go ahead and win the NBA championship this year? All that next on this Locked On Knicks Film School bold prediction crossover episode.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
You are locked on to the New York Knicks. My name is Gavin Schall. I am a New York City native. I am a credentialed media member that has been covering the Knicks for nearly a decade, and I'm the Saturday co-host of the Locked On NBA podcast, so be sure to check out my work over there. This is Locked On Knicks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, your daily podcast on the New York Knicks, giving those detailed insight on your favorite team at least 5 days a week. This week, it's going to be a whole lot more, so be sure to join thousands of other Knicks fans in subscribing on both YouTube and your favorite podcast platform for the best insight on your favorite team every single day. And today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started right now. As we mentioned, guys, it is going to be me. It is going to be XJ. Check him out. Also over at the Hot Hand Theory podcast, where he does incredible work covering the NBA as a whole. It is going to be the GOAT, Jonathan Macri, the Cap GOAT, Jeremy Cohen, Master of Cream. And we are talking a whole bunch more bold predictions in this final part of our 3-part series. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to be hitting on a crazy 3-point shooting season upcoming for Mikal Bridges. That is going to spur the Knicks as a whole to a dramatically better 3-point shooting season. And that all might culminate in a championship for the New York Knicks. We get into it all right now on Locked On Knicks. All right. Am I up? XJ's up? I guess I'm up if we're going in reverse order of last time. So this one, I'm glad we're breaking them up by an episode because it is, and Andrew told me this when I was telling him my predictions before we started. Like both of the ones I came up with were very similar to the two that XJ came up with. So I guess great minds, dumb minds, whatever you want to say at home, think alike. But I'm just going to, I'll go for my other one was, I guess to spoil your final one, was about Mikal Bridges. And I first had that Mikal was going to make an all-star team. And I spent 15 minutes on that and then remembered that they're doing the international thing this year. There's only 16 Americans. So that was out the window. I had another one of him.
Really?
Yeah. Only 6. I think, unless I misread it, it's only.
No, I haven't read anything about this because I don't care.
3 teams, 8 players each, 16 Americans, 1 all international. So a lot harder to make the all-star team this year if you wanted to get bold with an all-star team prediction. I had another one that was about Mikal putting up 21, 4, and 4 on like crazy shooting numbers. I just think he's going to have a great season. I'll let XJ expand on that next. Instead, I went similar to you in the 3-point shooting direction, slightly different. You were talking about volume of 3-point shots. Mine is adjacent to that. I'm going to say that the Knicks finished top 8 in the NBA in made threes this year. And just for people at home, they were 26th last season, making 12.3 per game. If 3-point shooting stayed the same year over year, 8th last year was San Antonio at 14.1. I looked at the last 2 years. It went up almost 1 the year before that. OKC was at 13.2, almost, or like just a little bit the year before was 0.3 up. So I kind of split the difference. I'm going to say it's going to jump up to 14.8 this year, which would mean the Knicks would need to make an extra 2.5 threes per game. I think the crux of my argument here is what I said last show, and that's the Knicks front office. Clearly, I think saw what Indiana did to this team, saw how successful Boston's been the last few years. And obviously it's no secret that 3-point shooting is in vogue in the NBA, and they want to lean into that as much as possible. And they bring in Jordan Clarkson, who is going to, at the very least, be a fairly high volume 3-point shooter and someone who can self-create threes, which is not something the Knicks had in abundance last year. They bring on Gershon Yabusele, one of the best above the break 3-point shooting bigs in the NBA. And that's just an element with Mikal and OG both struggling at times, Mikal in particular above the break. I think that will help for spacing and just another place you can pass the ball to for shooting. Malcolm Brogdon, 5 of his 9 seasons in the NBA, he's been 85th percentile or better for combo guards from 3. Landry Shamet, assuming he ends up on the team, Brogdon ends up on the team, we obviously know what he can do. So how do we get to 2.5 extra a game? Here was my napkin math on this. I added an extra 0.7 a game for Mikal. Last season he shot 2 for 5.6 on a per game basis. I'm projecting 2.7 for 7. So he takes an extra 1.5. I think he's just going to be a lot more confident from 3 this year. And I think he shoots closer to 38, 39%, which is where he's been most of his career, than 35% from last season. I put in an extra half for Jalen Brunson to our conversation last show, only have him taking 1 more 3 per game. And I think he shoots a slightly higher percentage, given a lot more of them will be off the catch. That's probably a little optimistic, but that's what I put in. That's 40% from 3 if he does that, 2.8 out of 7. I put in just an extra 0.25 total for Cat, Deuce, and OG. I don't know, and I'm curious your guys' take on this. I don't know if Cat ends up shooting more threes this year. He's taken just 5 in 36 minutes this preseason. He's obviously going to be at the 4 a little bit more. He's going to play behind the arc a little bit more. Maybe we'll have more opportunities at catch and shoot. Him playing the 5 was a good avenue for him to get really easy looks from 3 with centers that were going to be in the lane, and he still didn't shoot a lot last season. Deuce and OG just off increased pace, maybe slightly up their numbers. The biggest thing for me is going from Gershon Yabusele to Precious Achiuwa in your rotation. Gershon last season made 1.3 a game. He made 1.5. Precious made 0.2. So that's a plus 1.3 difference. That helps you just a ton. Clarkson and Brogdon, I think, maybe make up for the rest, which was just like it wasn't that they only had to combine for 1.25 at that point. So that's some very loose napkin math, but I just have a feeling with the combination of pace and Mike Brown just placing such an emphasis on like those drive and sprays. We've seen the dribble handoffs and like the quick ones, right? Where Deuce or Brunson is pushing up the court. They throw it ahead to a wing or a big. They get the ball right back going downhill. That should lead to a lot of easy threes. Teams will start to scout it out, but it does feel like they just have more built-in mechanisms to their offense to hunt threes, along with better and more confident shooters.
That was quite an argument.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I have a very quick thought on this, which is that I don't think any one player is going to make a leap in terms of their 3-point frequency. Mm-hmm. I think it is going to have to be a team-wide effort. I completely agree that there are certainly players that should make leaps in terms of their frequency. Hello, Karl Anthony Towns. And I said it to when James Edwards came on our pod last week. Like, if Mike Brown gets Cat to take like a real number of threes, like what he's close to what he should be taking, like lifetime contract, build the man a statue. I don't see it. I don't see any individual player making a leap. I do think it's going to be a team-wide emphasis, though. And I think that team-wide emphasis, though, a little bit here, a little bit there, I think that's enough to get it done.
Jeremy, what do you think?
I have to agree with John on this one. It just feels like by committee, that addition. But yes, I mean, there's certainly the swapping out will benefit the Knicks, but who will take that role? I mean, I would love to see, I think you had Mikal as really the highest.
Taking an extra 1.5, which is a lot. That's ambitious, right? Like
it is, but I could see the comfortability being in a new system, being featured more, how that could be infectious for his offensive game and how he might be able to flourish really more as that tertiary guy. And sometimes even secondary, depending on who he shares the floor with. So I want to buy it, especially with him, but I do think it will be more of a team-focused approach there. So I'll rest with John on this.
I'm gonna comment on this, and then I'm gonna segue seamlessly into my last prediction, which perfectly fits into this conversation. And I hopefully, if we blend them together, it doesn't seem like all we're doing is talking about 3-point shooting. But first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sort of devil's advocate this one. So I don't know if you all realize this, but 2-point shots have been the higher value shots in the NBA over 3-point shots the last for a few seasons already. And the reason for that happening, that meaning 2-point shots confer a higher point per attempt than 3-point shots, because all the bad twos have been cut out of the game, basically. So now, you're not taking these bad twos that are dragging down that point per shot attempt. But that means that we could be potentially, unless something changes, I think there will be something that changes, but unless something changes, we could be actually reaching the ceiling of what it looks like in terms of overall 3-point volume in the league, unless there are some subtle differences like deeper 3-point shooting or the way that defenses play teams. But that being said, I think it's going to be actually hard to increase 3-point volume in general across the league despite that, I'm just going to be honest. I have to agree with that. I think this is going to happen. And it segues into my prediction, which is that Jordan Clarkson will make me pull out 5% of my hair over the course of the season. Well, that's a prediction. That's not my actual prediction. My actual prediction is going to be Mikal Bridges will lead the Knicks in 3-pointers made this season. John, you said you don't think any one player is going to make a leap in 3-point frequency. I think it's going to be one. I don't think it's going to be Cat. I would love it to be Cat. I don't think it's going to be Cat. I think it's going to be Mikal Bridges. And my argument for this is...
You said total threes, right?
Total threes made, Mikal Bridges.
I mean, he was second last year.
Yeah.
Was he? I didn't even realize that. I thought
so.
It was
But there's a games played thing here.
Yeah, I was gonna say it helps that he plays every game.
Yeah.
Well, OG was 171, Mikal was 164, and then Brunson was 152, and Cat was 142. But
again, okay, yeah, right. The games played. So he was second last season. Definitely not on like a per 75 possessions or anything like that. But we're just talking total. So I totally agree with that. In 2024, Mikal Bridges was 13th in the entire NBA and made threes with 220. That's more than Brunson has ever had, Towns has ever had, OG has ever had in a season in any of their careers. That includes for Mikal Bridges 171 catch and shoot threes. So it's not like he was mostly taking, more pull-ups in his Brooklyn Nets role. And he was generally on a trend of increasing his shooting volume going into 2025. His 3-point make consistency had increased every year since 2020. His shooting talent grades were generally continuing to get better. His attempt rate was increasing again after it had dropped as he shifted roles. Also, his range was starting to increase. So we're seeing all of these indicators saying Mikal Bridges is starting to become a high volume, high accuracy shooter. And that all came undone with whatever he did with his shot last season. That just completely detoured everything. But I'm a big believer that single year blips often distract us from overall trends, overarching trends in a particular direction. So many of us underrated Darius Garland heading into last season because he took an unexpected back step the previous year, but then he got right back on his development trajectory and is proceeding with being as good as we expected him to be based on how he was earlier in his career. I think we're going to look back at this season and say Mikal Bridges leading the Knicks in 3-point shots and makes shouldn't have been a surprise. It's totally within the long-term view of where he had been heading in his career before whatever happened, whatever weird thing happened last season. And he seems to have his confidence back. He's going to have the green light. He's going to play the games. He's going to play the minutes. And so I just think this is, I feel really strongly about this one. I'd love to hear y'all push back on it because I like this one. All right, guys, the holidays are going to be here before you know it, which is exciting, but getting your home ready for guests and celebrations can feel like a lot. Maybe your serveware needs a refresh or the guest room could use new bedding. Wayfair has everything you need to get your home holiday ready. From Christmas trees to wreaths to bedding to cookware and outdoor inflatables, it's your one-stop shop for every room in the house. Wayfair makes it easy to personalize your home for the holidays with a huge selection for every style and budget. And with free and easy delivery, even on the big stuff, you can get everything you need without the hassle of huge delivery fees. I was looking for an ottoman that goes with my couch and match my style and fit my budget, and I found it within a few minutes on Wayfair. And then I was able to have it easily, quickly delivered with no delivery fees, which is truly essential in this day and age, and the process couldn't have been easier. So get organized, refreshed, and ready for the holidays for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home.
So can we put a rough number? Do you think he's going to get around 200?
I think he's going to get over 200. Yep.
Yeah, I think I like that almost more as a bold prediction because the original version of it feels very safe to me. To John's point that he was only 7 off last year. He shot worse than he has any other season, but I believe his rookie year. And the shot just like he looks like he doesn't have that hitch anymore. His first 2 in Abu Dhabi were terrible, and I was like, oh no, here we go again. And since then, like he shot quickly, like he shot confidently. His shot, like I'm not DJ over here, but like you can just see like there is a flow to his mechanics right now where he is in a great rhythm. It seems like he just ironed that out and actually shot the same way the entire offseason versus like a weird last second pivot we saw last year. And with all that crap, like that was a nightmare season for him in that sense, like to have a hitch as you're trying to figure things out in a new team in a pressure packed situation. If he just has average conditions this year, he should lead the team in made threes. And like he should have beyond that. I think the best counter argument maybe is that just Jalen is used off the ball a lot and dramatically increases his 3-point rate. But as we talked about in part one, we don't think that's super realistic. So I think this is an easy check for me. And if you want to go bolder and say 200 or more, sign me up for that too. I'm totally on board with this.
I mean, I'm looking last year. The tough part is he played 3,000 minutes last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
that's a good point. That's the counter argument.
But again, we have different opinions on maybe how exactly many minutes he's going to play. We know he's not going to miss games. So let's say he plays 2,800 minutes next year. Devin Booker, or this season, I should say. Devin Booker last season played 27.95, so just a shade under 2,800. So maybe around what Mikal will play this year. He made 183. Now he was chucking them. He put up 551. He hit 33% of his shots. And there was, I'm sure, a little bit going on in Phoenix of like, none of this matters, so why not? I don't think that's going to be the case here in New York. But like, I don't know, if Devin Booker could make 183 threes, Mikal Bridges could make 200. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's nuts. Yeah, that's my short answer. I don't think it's nuts.
I'm buying it. Absolutely. And here's another thing. I mean, availability is the best ability. Full stop. He will play fewer minutes, which of course will impact the opportunities that he has. But I think that the opportunities he will have because of the lessened workload will actually benefit him in terms of there's less fatigue, the looks that he has. Perhaps he takes fewer above the break threes. And if we're talking about cutting out shots that aren't working for him, hopefully he is able to do what he did before from above the break. But if he's not, you're still talking about the corner threes. And then those looks, the ones that he will get, especially from the corners, where I believe a large variety of them will come from. I choose to believe that is the best scenario from the Knicks. I'm also more of an optimist in general. So I want to buy this. And as a result, I'm buying it. So 100%.
All right. Before we wrap up, I want to throw one curveball at you guys, just because, Jeremy, you mentioned you were going to predict the Knicks win a championship. Dude, that was such a tease. Like that's getting the MCU character in the cameo, and then he doesn't show up for a decade. Like I just one also, we need a little more to get this to a second episode, so I'm being selfish there. But I will keep it to 10 minutes or so. I'm just really curious. Can you make your case for that? Like I want to hear more.
Sure. I would say the bold prediction is that the Knicks win the NBA championship, because of the fact that every single year they are not the ones to be in contention for a championship. So it'd be bold to say, oh, they can actually win it, because even with what looks like a contending team, things happen. It's still the Knicks. There's still this feeling of how are the Knicks going to get over the hump and do it. But if they're playing with a more egalitarian offense like we're talking about, if they're able to defend at a high level, if they are able to be kept healthy by an award-winning training staff, if they are battle tested, which we know they are, because say what you will about Tom Thibodeau, the ability for this team, largely the nucleus, to be forged in the fire. And it dates back even before Tibbs. Jay Wright, the Knicks have several players who know what it's like to be battle tested and to advance in high stakes games. And they've been building for this every year. The window of opportunity, especially when it comes to the competition, as things stand, has not been weaker. And there's the possibility, of course, that someone like Jason Tatum returns, someone like Tyrese Halliburton returns. But I would imagine there's a higher likelihood that someone else in the East or even in the West gets hurt compared to one of those players, or both of those players certainly, coming back. So then you don't want to take your opponents for granted. But at the same time, you look at what you have in-house, what's working, figuring out every year, how do we get a little better? How do we make a difference? There's still a trade deadline. There's a buyout market. There are opportunities for the Knicks to try to shore up any weaknesses. Of course, they don't have a ton of assets where they can really replenish and balance things out. But there's enough where if they needed something even on a smaller scale, maybe it's getting a little bit more size. Maybe it's finding a ninth man who can really help boost them in the regular season to help guys rest a bit more. And it's that added depth. We talked about Josh Hart before. We have seen every single year, Josh Hart has even said it himself, of how around the All-Star break, that's when his knees give out a little bit and then needs to do a little bit more rest. Imagine you're able to give him some more longevity. Why am I pointing out Josh Hart? Certainly there are better players on the Knicks. To me, he is very much the heart and soul of what the Knicks provide. And even though he's unable to really advance that from a spacing perspective, and you'd hope that with the better looks we're talking about, Josh Hart takes better shots, that things look better for him. But the ability for someone like him to help as an engine keep the Knicks going, just whatever they can do to lengthen their squad. And then as things get closer, they're going to probably shrink their lineup a bit more. The rotation might become a little bit more compact. But for all of those reasons and more, that's why I kind of go to the feeling of, why can't they? What's stopping them in a league where there's a ton of parity and in a conference where there's just not a ton of healthy talent? Why can't they get to the finals? And then from there, anything can go.
John, I think I heard you talk to James about this. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I think if I remember correctly, you're a little bit more pessimistic. But what do you think about this?
No, I think they should be favored to win the East.
Yeah.
They're my pick to win the East.
Mhm.
I don't think it would be crazy at all to think that they could win a title. That I would be very surprised if they're not underdogs if they do make the finals, regardless of who comes out of the West, although you never know. I think the biggest reason to buy what Jeremy's selling here is, I mean, two words, Jalen Brunson. You believe that if that guy gets to that stage and is that close, and you believe, as I do, that there is no player in the NBA who cares about winning as much as Jalen Brunson does. And if he could smell it, if he gets that close, I maybe that's enough. Even if they are not the quote unquote better team or the most complete team or the most sound team, and they have flaws, which I think all of us would acknowledge that this team does. They're not perfectly built or anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think it's nuts. Do I really think the Knicks are going to win the title this year? I'd be hard pressed to say that with my full chest, but let's see how it looks. I don't think it's nuts. As an aside, you really warped my brain with the 8 international all-star things, and I've spent much of the last 15 minutes making a list of, because I think this is totally fascinating, which we don't have to get into that right now, but I just wanted to tell you broke my brain.
I appreciate that. I did that earlier, even without that. And I was like, all right, there's 10 guys he'd be competing with for maybe 5 spots. And then I saw that. I was like, all right, it's probably not going to happen.
I looked at it from the other perspective, which is the international players, because the only downside there is there are 5 automatics, assuming actually it doesn't even matter what games play, because you got Giannis, Wemby, Jokic, SGA, and Luka. Like those 5 are getting in.
Yeah. If
Embiid ever actually played games, he would be a 6th. And then you got a bunch of guys who were like, interesting. Anyway, I've derailed the conversation. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Denny of the All-Star season loading. Maybe
I wrote that Denny right there.
Yeah.
There's on my little list.
Super underrated, Denny.
Yeah.
He's on the long list.
He's a good player. XJ, last season you were, I think, at least that I heard, one of the leading voices on these Knicks podcasts saying that this team had championship talent. And I think based on talking to you now, we're both kind of on the same page that Mike Brown's doing a lot of the stuff we argued wasn't happening last year to optimize them, at least in terms of like variety of lineups, in terms of just like making sure, or we think like we still have a long regular season, who knows what actually happens, but it seems like, to Jeremy's point, guys are going to be a little bit more well rested. He's aiming to peak in April, May, June. Do you buy into the idea that this could be a championship team?
The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right, pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Something I personally love about FanDuel is something I like to call an emotional hedge. What that means is we all know the pain of the Knicks losing, or another team we're rooting for losing a big game, or something we've been hyping up happening that doesn't happen, like Deuce McBride hitting 3 or more 3-pointers. What I can do with FanDuel is put a few bucks down on the Knicks losing or McBride hitting the under, so that when I feel the pain of that loss, I get to wipe my tears away with a little bit of cash. It makes watching football even more exciting when you got a little bit of something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats like I do, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Oh, I buy it for sure. I mean, you're talking about a team that's ascending just as the conference is falling apart. Like could the timing be any better? If the Cleveland Cavs weren't in your way, we're talking about looking forward to who they can play in the Western Conference, and the Cavs are the scariest thing in the East, obviously, and the kind of one thing standing in the way of me being like, yeah, I think this is the year, but I just love the fact that how often you get this lucky with timing of, and obviously it's unfortunate. We love to see the best players play in the highest stakes situations, but to see Tatum and Halliburton go down, but there's no real challenge in the East aside from the Cleveland Cavaliers. Jeremy mentioned rest and kind of the focus being on April and May. Gavin, you and I have talked about experimentation and how important that is and seeing what works. And it seems like Mike Brown is going to be dedicated to that. We'll see when the season actually starts, but everything is really pointing in that direction. I mean, John talks about Jalen Brunson and what he's able to do and the clutch player of the year and everything we've seen him do in all of these playoff situations. So you kind of have everything working for you. My biggest concern is when you get there, are you playing Oklahoma City? Because then, you all know what I think about Oklahoma City Thunder. So, that's going to be tough. But if you get there, hey, all stakes are off, all bets are off, and who knows what could happen. So you get through Cleveland, you use this season to get better. You're peaking and ascending, and all of your guys are in their primes or near them at a time when the whole conference is crumbling around you. If this is not the year, this is going to be, in my opinion, their best shot at it. So
yeah, sorry, John, go ahead.
No, I was about to say, if this isn't the year, I don't know if we should finish that sentence because it's this better be the year. That's all.
You guys took the words out of my mouth. That's exactly where I was going to go. How rare is it to have a team where your top 6 guys, unless I'm not thinking correctly about someone, are between 28 and 30 pretty much, or 28 and 31, smack dab in the middle of your prime. Again, it's early, but I think they might have found the right coach in Mike Brown. To XJ's point, East is wide open. The Cavs crushed the Knicks last year in the regular season. People want to come out and say that's what will happen in the playoffs. Obviously, it's not what happened with the Celtics after they crushed the Knicks in the regular season. We also saw the Knicks just pull the Cavs pants down, and I don't even know where I want to go from there. Embarrass them in the 2023 playoffs. They still have Mitchell Robinson, who is an X factor. I think, and this is a hot take, but until Cleveland moves on from Jared Allen, I think Evan Mobley at center is probably their ceiling. And if they don't make that move this year, I'm curious if they find the best version of themselves and the most physical and the most aggressive version of themselves that could handle, I think this is what John was getting at by saying Jalen Brunson, just the intestinal fortitude the Knicks bring to the table in those moments. And the idea that the Knicks could potentially be healthier this time around, that could go the other way. The Knicks in some ways it had extraordinary health luck last season, but Cat was obviously beat up by the conference finals. Josh Hart was a shell of himself by the conference finals. You get those guys with better depth, everyone a year better in an optimized system where you actually spent the regular season finding what your best lineups are, where they were hamstrung in just so many different ways last year. And they still came within one all-time collapse in game 1 of maybe making the finals and challenging the Thunder. And I do think there are ways they can go at the Thunder. And actually, we've talked about that. The size on the wing is a real challenge for Oklahoma City. OKC would be a heavy favorite. Any other team in the West, I think the Knicks are more than capable of beating. So I'm on board with that. I think it's a great call, Jeremy. I appreciate you guys indulging the extra 10 minutes there. Not that anyone needs it, but John, could you tell everyone all the great offerings Knicks Film School has? Because I know everyone knows about the podcast. They know about the YouTube, but I know you guys are doing a couple new shows this year that I think everyone should check out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're always doing stuff. No, just check out Knicks Film School podcast, like you said, YouTube. I have a newsletter on Substack, and I am actually, I guess yesterday when this posts, we'll have launched a new NBA podcast called NBA Takedown. Excited for the first episode, which again, by the time people are listening to this, will have already happened. So I hope it went well. So yeah, check that out if you want some more takes about the NBA.
All right, John, Jeremy, thank you so much. XJ, pleasure as always. We'll talk to you very, very soon on both Locked On Knicks and Knicks Film School.